chapter 3, James gives us this excellent description of what we're just talking about. Godly wisdom, which is a theme throughout all of the letter to the Corinthians. Verse 13 says this, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom." So that same idea, humility that comes from wisdom. Wisdom is properly applying knowledge, right? That's important. Wisdom isn't having knowledge, it's doing the right thing with knowledge. In other words, if I go to a pizza place and order a pizza, and it gets served to you, and your knowledge tells you, because you've been there before, it's molten lava under the cheese, right? That's what lurks beneath that cheese, and you know that. But you're hungry, and so you bite into it anyway, and you burn your tongue. Thankfully, the fastest healing member of the body, but yet your pizza is ruined. That is unwise. Wisdom receives the pizza and says, I know it's molten lava under the cheese, and counts for 5 minutes and just hangs out, and then bites it and does not burn their tongue. Does that make sense? Wisdom is having knowledge and applying it properly. So he says here, in this case, he says that there's humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, isn't that the concept we're dealing with in Corinthians, self-exaltation? Do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly and unspiritual and demonic. Self-exaltation is never from God. Never. He goes on, he says, "For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and every evil practice." Verse 17, "But wisdom that comes from above is first of all pure." It means it doesn't have two different motives. That's what that word means. It's not trying to get its own thing through by an ulterior motive. It's pure. After that, it's peace-loving, meaning it doesn't compromise truth per se, but its goal is peace. The wisdom from above, its goal isn't just to be right. Its goal isn't to exalt itself. Its goal is to ensure peace in a relationship, peace in a situation. He goes on there to say that then after that, it's considerate, meaning it thinks of others. It's submissive. What does that mean? It means the wisdom from above, it's willing to listen and consider. When godly wisdom is in being involved in a situation, when someone else is speaking and someone else is expressing themselves, even if it's not a valid expression or somebody's saying something that's untrue, godly wisdom can listen to that, consider it. Right? Its goal is peace. It's not to shut it down and say, no. That's not what godly wisdom does. It's funny because later on, James is going to say the wrath of man cannot work the purposes of God, which ironically, for some of us, we're constantly trying to invoke wrath because we think if we just nip it in the bud, that's our saying, nip it in the bud. And really what we're saying is we just want to stop it right there. I don't have to hear what you're saying. I don't have to consider what you're saying. You're an idiot. I'm intelligent. And so this is over. I'm right. And I will express the right attitude to you. And if you reject that, then that's your fault. Isn't that kind of how we relate to one another sometimes? That's what we see communicated, at the very least, in our media. But that's not the wisdom from above. It's submissive. It's willing to hear people out. It's willing to not insist on its way. It's full of mercy. Mercy is not giving people what they deserve. It's full of good fruit. It's impartial. It's sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. This is exactly what Paul is talking about. That we can move away from, I have all the knowledge and all the answers, and I can do everything right, and move instead to a place that sees the person, that sees the heart, and comes from a position that says, regardless of what happens in this conversation, I'm going to conduct myself and use my words in a way that every single word is going to build you up. Every single action. You ever been in a conversation and they do something like this? Does it build confidence in you? Does it make you feel like, I now really want to hear what you have to say? I'm super into this conversation now. It doesn't, does it? It makes us go, you know what? Forget you then. I don't care what you have to say. to how we interact with each other. It's so important. This concept, it's going to be exercised in chapter 9, he's going to talk about it. Chapter 10, he's going to talk about it. This concept of God's goodness and what he has for us and how we're to relate to each other, it's huge if we're going to be part of building his kingdom.